Welcome, 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 shapeshifters. Thank you so much for showing up for our inaugural episode. I really appreciate you being here. Today's episode is all about 2025 and how you can still make 2025 your best year yet. I know some of you are already thinking it's February. Why are we talking about the new year? We're going to get into it. I promise you. So get comfortable, grab a journal, something to write with, and let's get into it. So it is February, and I want you to think back to January 1st of 2025, how you were feeling about this new cycle, this new season, this new year. Maybe you had some resolutions for yourself, some goals. Maybe you did some reflection on some things that you were like, I certainly don't want to do any more of this as I move into this new chapter. And do a quick self-reflection audit. How did you do? How are you doing in this first 30-ish days of the new year? Are you adhering to those things? Are you not? Where are there areas to grow? Where are you doing really well? And where do you need some help? Right? So when I was deciding when I wanted to launch this podcast, I think the old me would have definitely said, hey, it's a new year. You should launch it in January. But then I realized I don't really do stuff in January, and I thought it would be important to talk about why I do not believe January is a good time to really start anything, to be frank. And I remember in previous years in my life really failing in certain ways because January was just never a time where I could stay motivated. I tried to stay motivated. I tried to give it my all, and I would find myself in this lull come February, come March, where I really wasn't really measuring up, if you will, to some of the goals that I set for myself. And at the end of the day, I just kind of was like, fuck it. I'm just going to let it go. And I kind of moved at my own pace. And it was years later that I actually started realizing that there was like more than one calendar, right? We've been so programmed to think that January 1 is the beginning of the year. And part of my own healing journey and part of my healing practice has really been to decolonize those ideas, to deconstruct, and to be curious about why do I do the things that I do and are they really serving me? And so as I began to kind of go down the rabbit hole, I realized, hey, there's a lot of different calendars out there. I'm from the Bay Area. We always celebrated the Chinese New Year. Also, there's a large Ethiopian population. I remember they would have like their own Ethiopian New Year. And so it was like, wow, okay, so there are other New Years. And as I got older, I'm also a practitioner in the tradition of Isheshe and Ifa. We actually celebrate our New Year around June, the first, second week in June. And so why is it that we put all of this pressure on ourselves to start everything on January 1? We know that for many people on the planet, January 1 is a time of winter. It is the dead of winter, and it is really marked by the longest night of the year, which many of us know is the winter solstice, which takes place the end of December, around December 20th, December 21st of the end of the year. And so that is the longest night of the year. And the longest night of the year represents this time where we are moving into a slower pace. The nights are longer. We start seeing the weather shift. It's getting colder outside. We may not have the same energy that we had before. Everything is just kind of calling us within. Everything is calling us to slow down. And it's a really powerful, powerful time of year because we're also reminded that every time we find darkness, we find the opportunity for creation. Every time we find darkness, we find the opportunity for creation. What do I mean by that? I want to credit one of my teachers, Namanya Soipan, who reminded me that everything in life begins in the dark. Whether we're talking about all of us who were planted, if you will, in the wombs of our mother's bellies, those wombs were pitch black. There was nothing that you could see. It was a black, dark environment. We also know that when you plant a seed, you have to plant it in the pitch blackness of the earth. And it is from there that seed begins to take root and eventually sprout. We also know that many ancient traditions believe that the earth was created from a primordial darkness, whether it was the primordial waters, then we know that the bottom of the ocean is dark. whether we're talking about the cosmos, also remembering universal law that as above, so below. We know that the cosmos are also dark and that they birth solar systems and universes, right? So the only reason we even know what the light is because we first, all of us, every living thing first experienced this idea of darkness. So darkness is something that I believe we have become terrified of, to be frank. We are afraid of the dark. We are afraid of the unseen. We know that when we're even thinking about our physical lived reality, some people would call the dream state the unseen reality. When we close our two eyes and we open up our third eye, we're moving to a place of the unseen reality. We also know that when we're talking about the sun and the moon, which is typically associated with the divine feminine, the moon we know is often spoken about as this unseen, mysterious part, right? And that moon cycle actually happens every 28 days. And that moon cycle is connected to the power of our waters, the power of the ocean, the power of the tide, the power of the ebb and flow. And we know that that ebb and flow of the oceans is also in alignment with those of us who are born with wombs. And that is why the full moon cycle, which takes 28 days, is also in alignment with the rhythm of our menstrual cycle, which is 28 days. We know that the full moons represent opportunities to release, and also the new moons are times of planting. So indigenous cultures were very, very aware of this. And what's the beauty of studying indigenous wisdom is because we learn that most of the technologies, these so-called insights, we like to call it science, is really backed up and created by and informed by the wisdom of our ancestors. And I'm talking about from the beginning of civilization, cultures like ancient Kemet, cultures like the Dogon people, cultures like the ancient Mayan civilization, because we know that it takes 1,000 years to create a calendar. And so these cultures were able to look up into the cosmos before we had internet, right? And they were able to observe the cycles and observe when they could be most aligned with the cycles. And this was very important because we know many of them were agrarian cultures. They relied heavily on the cycles of nature as it related to crops, as it related to planting, which was their means of survival, right? So this wasn't just something to do for fun. This was literally how they were going to advance their society. And so they understood the sacredness of the dark. They understood the sacredness that we as individuals have to honor ourselves, our lives, by giving ourselves the opportunity to rest and restore. If any of you have been somewhere where there's not a lot of street lights, maybe you've been on vacation somewhere, or you found yourself in a rural area, and you'll notice that when the sun goes down, you start getting tired, right? But we have become so terrified of the dark that we live in a society, many of us live in cities, myself included, where we don't even get a chance to witness the dark, experience the true sunset because our cities are lit up, let alone even be able to see the stars. And so that is why none of indigenous cultures celebrated the new cycle, the new beginning with a beginning of dark. And so this time of year from December 21st to March 21st, when we celebrate the spring equinox, represents this time of formation. As we know, farmers first look at the soil and they ask themselves, okay, let me tap into the elements of the soil. Does it need more sand? Does it need more fertilizer? What are the nutrients that are going to be required for this thing to grow? And that they would look at that and they would determine what they wanted to plant. They would be very intentional about it. Many of these farmers are also looking at the seeds that grew really well from last year that they had saved, and they're planting them with a place of intention, knowing that, and here's the tricky part, knowing that when you put that seed in the ground, you don't get to watch it grow. And part of that obsession with what has to be seen, right, as we live in this visual state. We hear things really by looking at them. Most of the information that we get on social media and online, everything now is learning through sight. We don't close our eyes and learn anything. We learn through sight because we become such an obsessed visual culture. But we know that in nature, that is not how it works, that you don't get to see that plant grow. All you can do is give that seed the right nutrients, the right sunshine, the right love, the right environment. You cultivate and create a container of wellness. And you also, the most important part is you trust the inherent intelligence of the seed. You don't have to plant a mustard seed and say, hey, mustard seed, do you know what to do? Hey, oak seed, pick any seed you want. Do you know what you're supposed to break open and like completely transform and destroy yourself. And then this other part of you is going to grow out and it's going to anchor yourself into the soil. And the more it's anchored, it's going to support this other part of you to emerge out of the soil and push against and have tension against the actual earth in order to sprout. No, you trust the inherent intelligence of the seed and that you know that if you do the right things in winter, that when spring comes around, we're going to have those first sprouts of spring where we get to witness and observe the work, the sacrifice, and the commitment that we have put in the wintertime. And that when you move into the time of summer, right, which we celebrate with the summer solstice around June 20th, when we just want to be outside. The sun is up, Ra, right? The energy of Ra, as our ancient Kemetic brothers and sisters taught us. The energy of Ra, the sun, which feeds all living creatures, including us. Right? When we're talking about these ideas of nature, shapeshifters, we're not just talking about it because it sounds cute. We know that when we look up what the elements of our body are actually made up of, we are actually made up of the same elements of the sun, the moon, and the stars. That is why we say as above, so below, because your physical body is a microcosm of the macrocosm of the universe. And so we want to be outside. We feed off of the sun. We get energy from the sun. And then as we transition into the season of harvest, this is the time around September 20th or 21st, depending on where you are on the planet, where we get to celebrate harvest, bounty. We get to collect, right? All of the work that we put in over the year, and we get to celebrate. And this is where many harvest festivals that many indigenous cultures had, they didn't take harvest lightly because they knew that if harvest didn't come, they might not eat, they might not survive, right? And that is why many cultures celebrate this time. We know that the fall also represents the season of ancestors in the Gede tradition with our Haitian brothers and sisters, whether you're talking about Dia de los Muertos, that harvest and ancestors go together because we understand that you're only able to harvest, you're only able to reap because of what has come before you. Not just the work that you have done, but the people that have come before you to allow you to exist. And then we save those seeds and we compost in that time what did not work for us as we begin to start the cycle all over again with winter. And so you shapeshifters are no different. This is your divine season, the season of winter, not to be thinking about doing, but to tap into the space of a human being, your own internal beingness, trusting your own inherent intelligence to know that you have exactly what is required within you to fulfill all of your goals, all of your dreams. As we say in Ifa, we come from heaven. But earth is the marketplace. We come from the darkness, but we come from the darkness into the light, imbued with our own inherent gifts so that we can move out into the marketplace. What is the marketplace? It is the place where you meet strangers, where you meet your neighbors, where you meet people from your town, and you bring your gifts, your sacred, unique, and special gifts, and you trade and you barter and you sell and you utilize those things to navigate and to move through and advance in life, so that you have been given everything within you to fulfill your own destiny. But it has to come in its due season. And if you're in a season of planting and you're trying to be in a season of bloom, you're not going to be in alignment. And so when we really start tracing the history of these calendars, of the Gregorian calendar, that's why we celebrate January 1st of the new year, where we have to ask ourselves, well, who is this Gregorian person? Well, that person was actually a pope, right? A pope of the Catholic Church who rewrote and redesigned the calendar from Julius Caesar from the Roman Empire. So we know that these calendars are literal imprints, timeline markers of subjugation, imperialism, colonization, hegemony, and patriarchy. That when you look at the Roman Empire, when you look at the Catholic Church, right? I don't have to tell you the role that the Catholic Church has played in slavery, has played in imperialism, that they had priests on the slave ships with them, with the armies when they were going to invade indigenous territories all over the land. So what really we're marking their timeline. And that is where the Bible reminds us to be in this world, but not of this world. So yes, we do still have to navigate under the timeline of 2025, but we get to design it and use our own agency and our own inherent intelligence to create our own algorithm rather than being part of someone else's algorithm. And you might say, well, why should we even care? What difference does it make? It's just a day. The difference is you not being aligned with your own internal inherent intelligence gives you a deficit as you are navigating the world, as you are moving through in your purpose. It's easier to go outside when the sun is shining than it is in the middle of a snowstorm. You can do it, but the amount of work that you're going to have to buoy yourself up in just to be able to navigate when you could just wait for your due season and do something with ease. And so we are now living in a society which is drawing us out of ourselves. They've drawn you out of yourself because you're celebrating the new year on January 1. They're bringing you out of yourself because you no longer are tapped in and tuned into the cycles of nature, right? That's why they had to create these crazy months. If we know there are 28 days and there are 13 moons, that's the calendar. And that is the calendar of indigenous cultures. But what do we have in this Gregorian calendar? We have months of 28, months of 29, months of 30, months of 31. Hey, whatever goes and flows, right? Hey, let's add a leap year in there just to fuck shit up a little bit and make it a little bit more confusing, right? It's a hot mess. And it's not designed for you to thrive. And the more that we are out of alignment, our nervous system, our power becomes diminished. And it's more difficult for us to stay aligned because what also comes with their algorithm, right? Their timeline, their calendar are their distractions. Just look at how many things have already happened. I'm convinced that the current news cycle is being programmed by AI. It has all of our data. It knows what's going to make us panic. It knows what's going to bring us away from who we truly are. It knows what's going to distract us. It knows what's going to make us hate. It knows what's going to make us other. And so the idea is, let me just ratchet it up and ratchet it up. So every week we are faced with not just one, multiple episodes of literal things that have never happened before in our lifetime. Catastrophes, fires, snowstorms, blizzards, wars, rumors of war, death, murder, destruction, you name it. And the more we're out of alignment, the more that we give our energy, we give our inherent intelligence to that. And so what then happens? The more the algorithm feeds you information, you feed the algorithm information back, because now we got to post it. Now we got to share it. Now we got to tell somebody about it. Now we got to write an article, a think piece. We got to do a social media, a reel, a TikTok. So then we're feeding the machine even more information. And so then when it comes to our goals, then when it comes to our nervous system, then when it comes to our relationships, then when it comes to us being conscious parents, how the hell are we going to have any energy left for ourselves? You've already given your energy away. You've given your precious energetic currency away to something else, another entity, someone else's algorithm, because we know that data is also worth more than gold. So we're not just saying, oh, what difference does it make when I feed the algorithm? When you feed the algorithm, you are literally giving them more money, allowing billionaires to make more money off of your energetic currency while you continue to be a wage slave. So when we talk about a liberatory practice, when we talk about being a revolutionary, when we're talking about having a political stance, it is a political statement to realign yourself with the cycles of your ancestors. Is a political statement to say, no, I'm not going to get caught up in that algorithm. I'm not going to get caught up in the feed. It is literally called a feed that you are eating. I'm going to create my own. I'm going to create my own system because I trust my own inherent intelligence. So let's talk about how we do that. Let's talk about how we can create our own inherent systems, our own algorithms. The algorithm is the ecosystem. It is the operating system that is going to allow you to live your best life. So the first one is, shapeshifters, use this season of winter. It's February. You've got the rest of the month. You've got the rest of March. You're still in a time of planting. You're still in a time of cultivation. Plant your seeds with intention. Be very, very clear on what is for you and what is not for you. Take an assessment of your life, and the world doesn't have to show you another headline. No one's coming to save you. No government, no protests, no business person, nobody. It's not coming. Okay? The only thing that is going to allow your life to change for the better, for the life of your dreams, is you. Full stop. You have to take responsibility. And we know that the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. So get clear. Do that energetic audit. Do that financial audit. Do that relationship audit. Do your purpose. The choices is the way that I'm designing my life right now through my action. Because let's be clear, you create the future in the present moment. Right now, you are co-creating your future. And if you are wrapped up in a consciousness of death, doom, gloom, and destruction, and you think that that is what the world is going to be, and that is what the world is, guess what? We're just going to have more of it. The world is just going to mirror to you what you are putting out there. And this is not just hokey pokey. This has been scientifically proven. We know that your mindset and your mind state is going to shape your reality. And so I believe that oftentimes when we think about, people are using words like Armageddon and this dystopian future, and we've watched all the movies and we've seen all the Netflix shows, and they always project this dystopian future as either really, really great or really, really bad. And that maybe it's really bad for everybody, but there's just like this small percentage of people that it's great for. And I don't believe that. I believe that consciousness has merged. And so we're going to be living all of it at once. So you may be making choices for your highest good. And you might have a partner, you might have a family member, you might have a friend, you might be in a job, and they have bought into the death, doom, and gloom. People are going to neuralink themselves further into the matrix, or they're just going to opt out and know that they can use their own energetic currency to reimagine and create something even better. I'm reminded by the messages of the Ifa New Year. The Ifa is a African spiritual tradition brought out of West Africa. It's over 10,000 years old. Many of you know I am an Iyanifa. I'm also an initiated priest of Oya. It is my spiritual tradition. And in that tradition, all of the priests gather together for our new year. They do a divine reading. They consult the oracle, if you will, and that oracle representing Odu, and a different marker comes out, a different signature, a different energetic resonance, if you will. And that energetic resonance is complete with recipes, taboos, songs, guidance, insight, wisdom, everything that we need as a people to thrive. And in that reading, different energetic frequencies step forward and they say, these are the energetic frequencies that I need you to pay attention to this year. And so when that reading happened in June of 2024, because again, our new year is in June of 2024, all the way till June of 2025, one of the critical spirits or Risha that stepped forward was the spirit of our Ori. Your Ori represents divine consciousness. Ori represents your first God, as we say Ori before Egungun, Egungun before Orisha. Your own divine head before you honor your ancestors, and you honor your ancestors before you honor the elements of nature. And in that order of operations, it starts with you. And so the message that was sent out to us as devotees is we're going to have to protect our head. We're going to have to hold our head with both hands. What do we mean when we say that? It's not just the literal holding it with both hands. It means protect your mind. Protect your mental health. As I said, this war of bombardment with the death, doom, gloom, and destruction of someone else's algorithm bombarding you out of your divine purpose, it is a spiritual war. It is a mental war. Because what happens, we read these headlines, and even if you don't read them, someone else is going to ask you, hey, did you hear about this? And then you start talking about it, and now it's all up in your head, and now you're reposting it, giving it back, right? You go through that whole cycle, distraction, taking you out of alignment, moving you to a place of fear, moving you to a place of shame, moving you to a place of judgment. Remember, these are emotional frequencies. The emotional resonance that you're giving off allows you to attract more of that. That is where we hear the universal law of like attracts like. So if you're feeling bad, we've all had this, maybe overslept, and you're like, fuck, I overslept. Then you go out and you stub your toe. Damn, I stubbed my toe. And you already make up in your mind that this day is not going well. And guess what happens? You have a shitty day. It's not rocket science. So we know when we maintain a high frequency, we create a buoy, we create a life vest around ourselves to say, yeah, I see that headline, but it's bouncing off of me. It's not weighing me down. I'm not literally repeating it back out. And now that's my language and that's my speak. That's my mindset. So holding on to our Ori is reminding us that this year, right? Now, yes, 2024 into 2025, this year is about holding on to your head. And you can already see by what all the headlines that have transpired to get us to this point that they're going to continue to ratchet up and take you and they're going to continue to ratchet up and take you out of your neutral place. And that is a frequency that we often don't think about. We often think about this idea of I want to be at peace and a place of zen, but we forget that actually neutrality is one of the highest frequencies. Neutrality. Observing. Just observe. Observe what's for you and what's not for you. Observe what starts happening to your body. When you hear about some bad news, when you start clenching your mouth, when you start tightening up, observe if you even believe what they're feeding you sometimes. We can have discernment. Just because someone says something is a thing doesn't make it a thing. So discernment is so critical. And that's why we're taught omi tutu, water, cool my head. Tutu orimi, tutu orimi. May I have cool water on my head. May I have a coolness. May I not get too hot. May I not get too cold. You know, as I said, hey man, be cool. Our ancestors taught us that. Be cool. Hold on to your head, because if you don't, you'll lose it. And the impact of losing it means you lose your ability to fulfill your destiny. You lose your ability to live a purpose-driven life. So use this season to be intentional on the seeds that you're planting. And here's the thing that I know for sure. You're already planting seeds. The question is not about if you're planting. It is what you are planting. Do you even have a level of self-awareness to understand that if you are keeping negative self-talk going on in your brain over and over and over again, when someone offers you an opportunity and you go to worst case scenario, when someone says something and you go to fear, when someone tells you something and you go to othering, when it's time for you to launch that new project and you start mentally talking yourself out of it, when it's time to get that new download and you're looking at your bank account and thinking that that's going to rule what you're able to do. That is how we talk ourselves. We rob ourselves out of it. So we're planting seeds every day. And the invitation is to be aware of those seeds so that you can have your due harvest. So that's tip number one, is to use the rest of this winter season to really reflect on how you can intentionally plant. Another tip that I want to share with you is really thinking about the cycles of nature and how you can align not only your goals, but even your business and even your launches. I know for me, I don't even try to have a lot of projects starting until the spring or summer. Honestly, my most peak time is the harvest season. Many of my family's birthdays are in the fall. I'm kind of a fall, early-ish winter baby. I love the fall. Like the fall is popping for me. That's my season. You have to know your season. And your season is not going to be someone else's season. So you have to think about, when am I most productive? What works for me? Maybe winter works for you. Run with that. You have to know your productive times, even down to, for those of you who have a menstruation cycle, when you're designing your calendar, when you're designing your work calls, if you have control and you can push back a little bit. I know for me, I'm tired. I'm not trying to be out. I want to be in bed. I want to be moving slow. My body's moving slow. My body's in a state of release. So even when I'm looking at my calendar for the week, and I track my moon cycle, I have a tracking app for my moon cycle. I'm even thinking about that. So what is your season? What is your season of productivity? When are those times that you want to be resting? When are those times you're in bloom? When are those times that things are sprouting? And it doesn't mean it has to be this linear, oh, I moved from this place to that place. There might be areas in your life that you're composting while other areas are sprouting, other areas are blooming, but you're understanding the divine flow of your own season. Also, I would invite you to, because again, looking at our ancient ancestors and looking at all of those traditions, they read the stars. They read the stars and knew that the stars would hearken additional insights of energetics that were going on in the universe. This is where astrology comes from. This is where numerology comes from. So from a numerological, that's how I'm saying that properly, perspective, we know that 2 + 0 + 2 + 5 also equals the number 9. 2025 equals the number 9. We know that those divine cycles, as above and so below, are consistent. So just like we said, the womb cycle aligns with the 28 days of the menstruation. We also know that it takes 9 months to have a child, 9 months of pregnancy. And so every number from 1 to 9 represents the process of transformation, the process of completion. So that means that 2024, if you add it up, equaled an 8. And that means after 2025, we go back to the 1. We go back to the reset. 2026 adds to 10. 1 + 0 is 1. We're back at that 1. And then we move back up through the cycle again. So that means universally, on a universal level, because we're in this world but not of this world, at the end of the day, we're still looking at the calendar and we're still saying 2025. So 2025 still has an energetic imprint on our lives. So we can't just ignore it. And we know that that adds up to the number 9. And we know that 9 represents transformation. And often we love to say the word this is transformative event. I do transformative coaching, but we really don't think about what does transformation actually mean? Transformation means a part of you has to die. That's what it means to transform. Anything that moves from one state to the other has to give up what it knows as itself, right? Water becoming gas, right? It has to go from one state to another state. That thing that started off as a seed has now exploded, right? To grow roots and to sprout. And then it's going to explode again to become a tree. It's a rebirth. That is why we call 9 the number of rebirth, change, transformation. So we're living in a time where we're literally seeing every major system collapse. Our government system, our banking system. For those of you who are musicians, we saw that die a long time ago. Real estate, jobs. I think, the head of LinkedIn said the 9 to 5 is going to be obsolete by, 2040. People are working more freelancing opportunities. All of the things that we were told this is the way it is no longer work. And we are in a place of co-creating the new. And so we have to be willing to step into that space this year and not just say the president needs to change, not just the government needs to change, not just that my job needs to change, not just that my partner needs to change. What am I ready to change? What am I ready to transform? What part of me is ready to die? Life is going to life. The algorithm is going to be the algorithm. They're going to keep feeding you death, gloom, and destruction, but you get to decide. You get to choose how you are going to respond. And that is why understanding your own divine cycle and understanding the universal energetics that are flowing are going to be your superpower, shapeshifters, to allow you to navigate it. So when you see it dying, you don't have to say, oh no, we don't want it to die. Let's call 911. Let it, the inherent intelligence that something new will grow. And this is not an easy thing to do. And because it is not easy, it requires your full self. And you cannot bring your full self if you're caught up in someone else's algorithm. So what are the things you need to tell yourself, right? If you are the seed, what does the self-talk need to sound like? If you are the seed, what is the environment all the way down to the place that you call home need to look like, need to feel like? Is it dirty? Is it clean? Are you trying to plant stuff in a dirty house? Are you trying to nourish that seed with junk food and genetically modified materials? What are the conditions for your own powerful growth? And how can you utilize your own inherent intelligence? Another step that I'd like to invite you into for your own inherent intelligence is knowing your own personal year, your personal year. So again, we're still working with the idea of 2025. Again, be in this world and not of it. Don't hold on to, well, I thought it wasn't 2025 and now she keeps coming back to it. We're holding the spectrum. We're holding the spectrum because the reality is we have to bring these indigenous wisdoms, but we still got to get up and deal with this reality timeline. So when you add up your birth month and day, and you add it one digit at a time to 2025, you're going to get your personal year. That means that is my superpower of the year. If you're a 1, your superpower of the year is doing new things. If you're a 2, your superpower is going to be through your relationships, relationship with self, relationships with others. That's going to be your superpower. If you're a 3, your superpower is going to be through freedom and self-expression. So knowing all of that, your personal year, the universal year, understanding the cycles and the seasons, acknowledging them, aligning your life, like literally get 12 pieces of paper, write all 12 months or 11 months on them now, because we've got 11 months out of the year, and really map it, draw it, color it. Not just a vision board. I love the vision board. I think that's a really great starter package, but we're beyond starter package, right? This is like, it's on and popping on the universe right now. It's on and popping in the world. We got to move to like the 2.0, the PhD, move up another grade. We're past the vision boards. Okay. What are you going to do? What is the action step? Because a vision board is a nice picture. I want action steps. For every goal that you're going to set for yourself, for things that are going to happen at the appointed season for you, shapeshifters, what are the action steps that you're going to take to get there? And those action steps through consistency are going to begin to reprogram your mind. And they're going to begin to reprogram your whole energetic field. And they're going to reprogram and reset your chakras. And by resetting them, that is going to raise your vibrational frequency, your energetic resonance. And the more you raise that energetic resonance, the more you're going to begin magnetizing. You're not going to have to go out and look for it. It's going to find you. You're going to magnetize the opportunities for yourself, and you're going to repel what is not for you. And that is how you live a purpose-driven life. That is how you take another step forward in your own destiny. To understand that death does not have to be bad. You know, I've had the pleasure of being an educator for many years, and I still am in many ways. I just feel like now I'm educating adults than kids. But my background is as an educator. I taught first grade all the way up to the collegiate level. And I had the blessed honor in my hometown of Oakland, California, of being able to work at independent Black schools and seeing the power of independent Black education and how young people will truly thrive. And my daughter is a product of independent Black schools. Shout out to Ileomade in Oakland. And so I know firsthand, any of you who've maybe attended an HBCU university, we know firsthand the excellence that emerges from those spaces. So when I hear people talking about, well, Project 2025, and they're going to destroy education, I say, what a wonderful opportunity for more independent, culturally relevant institutions to emerge. What a wonderful opportunity for the homeschooling movement. What a wonderful opportunity for community schools. What a wonderful opportunity for us coming together as a collective and taking full responsibility for our lives and for our children, and stop relying on the government or anyone else outside of ourselves to do it. That's a reframe. But if you've given your hope and you've given your life to the algorithm, to the government, to the bank account, to the job, to the fill in the blank, then you've given your power away. The transformation of this planet is a beautiful thing. And the reality, as I said, is the split reality is some of us will see that beauty. Some of us will live that beauty. Some of us will walk in that beauty, and some of us will not. And the only difference is their mindset. Because we're all still on the same planet. We're all still dealing with the same shit, but how I choose to deal with it. And then you say, but what about those people in that part of the world? What about the suffering over here? And let me tell you something. This is going to be something that y'all don't want to hear. But I'm going to say it. You're not responsible. You're not responsible for fulfilling someone else's destiny. You're not capable of fulfilling someone else's destiny. You don't have the power to impact someone else's destiny. And that thinking that I am in control of someone else's life halfway on the other side of the planet, or even, hey, in my own neighborhood, that I am somehow responsible. Let me tell you what mindset that is. Colonizer. That's a colonizer mindset. That's the same mindset that the Romans came into ancient Kemet and said, we're going to change this up. We're going to fix, we're going to control, we're going to lead. That you are somehow responsible for changing and shaping the life of another. You're not respecting their inherent intelligence. As a community organizer, the very first rule that I learned very soon was every community has its own solutions. Every community has its own leaders. Every community has its own wisdom. I've never gone into a community to organize an initiative and had to tell people what to do. What I've had to do is sit down and listen. What I've had to do is find the elders, find the leaders, and give them the platform, give them more exposure, give them more access. Maybe I'm giving them some best practices, but baby, they already got the solution. As an educator, I know the brilliance of young people. I know that young people are the most creative. They hold some of the most creative currency on the planet. And we're giving them the opportunity to shine and thrive. They can come up with some of the most brilliant solutions. But instead of honoring their inherent intelligence, we dumb them down. We tell them to shut up, that they're not good enough, that they're not old enough, and we miss out. So this mindset that, well, if I do me, and do the best that I can do, then somehow I'm responsible for, or other people on the planet aren't going to be. That doesn't even make any sense. No. When you are well, the world is well. When you are well, your household is well. Your children are well. Your relationship was well. If two of us are well, everybody in our orbit is well. That's when we say 1 + 1 does not equal 2 in the indigenous math. It equals 3. Because when one or more people come together, a new energetic force is increased, is created. And through that new force, that is where the ripple effect, that is where the tipping point comes from. This idea that everybody's got to get along and everybody's got to come together will never happen. And if you study history, and I'm a student of history, you will know that that is not how any movement happens. It is a small amount of dedicated and committed people on the planet that then shape and influence the world. Ask me how I know, because I'm from Oakland, California, the birthplace of the Black Panther Party. The reason why you're eating breakfast in your school today is because of a small group of committed people. How do I know? Because I'm a child of the civil rights movement, a small amount of committed people coming together that has transformed the way that we live our life, and those movements went out to help other people. How do I know? Because I am humbled by the Haitian Revolution. The Haitian Revolution, which shaped Black consciousness and Black liberation all over the world and still does to this day, a small group of committed people. Don't you ever underestimate the power of a small group of committed people, that we are here today, that we came from heaven, that we decided to live on this planet in this time, in this moment, imbued with all of our inherent intelligence to create our own algorithm and our own due season to be the energetic stabilizers, the grid stabilizers, the light bearers, the earth seeds, the change makers, to show the world that another world is possible, because we're willing, we're courageous enough to go out and be transformed and step into the newness that is our inheritance. That is what this year is about. That is who you are. That is what you're capable of. That is who your ancestors were. And they weren't celebrating January 1 as the beginning of the year. Don't you get caught up in that. Stay focused. You got work to do. Step it up. Because no one's coming to save you. You can't even save our families right now. The best you can do to save your family is to shine your light, and maybe they'll look at your light and say, hey, maybe I should pay attention to what she's eating because she's not sick. Maybe I should pay attention to how she's living her life because she's shiny and bright. Maybe I should pay attention to what she's doing because she seems to have some disposable income. And they're going to look at your light, and that is all the lesson that you need. You don't have to talk about it, baby. Be about it. Be about it. And I guarantee you, I promise you, you will have the most transformative 2025, the most transformative year of your life. All right. That's what I got for you today, Shapeshifters. Thank you so, so much again for tuning in. Episode 1. I hope to see you back next week for more. Until then, keep shifting. Bye. Supreme gratitude for tuning in today, Shapeshifters. Your presence is a gift, and I truly appreciate you. If you're feeling like it's time for an energetic reset, I got you. Download my free Chakra Tune-Up, a transformative 7-day guide to realign your energy, harmonize with nature's rhythms, and recharge your spirit. Head on over to shapeshiftyourlife.com. That's one word, SH, the number 8, PE, shiftyourlife.com, and grab your copy today. Keep shifting.